stream is a follow-up on last week's stream where we talked about lower back muscle tension and its causes and possible short-term and long-term solutions. So today I'm going to show you a flow that I personally do when I'm feeling a lot of lower back muscle tension, and I think it's really effective for releasing the tension and also has long-term benefits for re-education, movement education, and movement retraining. So we'll go ahead and walk you through it. If you're in the program, you're going to recognize this as a progression of the back anchor connection and progression, and it's something you can also add to your routine as well. So I'll get in position and I'll just talk you through it as we go. So starting in the back anchor position, just relaxed. Always like to just take a couple deep breaths and kind of let my lower back muscles relax into the floor as much as they're going to. And then I will bring my rib cage down. If you are in the program, we call this connecting your back anchor. If you're not, bringing the rib cage down and connecting the bottom of your rib cage in the back to the floor and pushing away from that. And you can push away to the point where your pelvis elevates off the floor. And so that is kind of a nice release for my lower back muscles. My abdominals are engaged. My lower back muscles are being relaxed by not only just the position that they're in and gravity kind of causing them to be in a kind of a slack, lengthened position through this motion, but also through something called reciprocal inhibition. So when one muscle contracts, the opposite muscle is automatically relaxes as a result of the system of the body called reciprocal inhibition. So I'm just in this position, I'm breathing, I'm kind of hanging out here. I can feel like just decompression type feeling in my lower back muscles. Breathing in my lower back, and this is kind of a progression I like to add. So just taking my arms and doing kind of like a floor angel and trying to maintain that connection throughout the entire arc of motion. So my back anchor stays connected. It doesn't matter if your arms come off the ground. I have really tight shoulder and lat muscles, so my arms don't stay on the ground up here. But for you, they might continue to slide on the ground, like as mine do here. That's probably a better thing. But it's not the focus. The number one focus is always the core connection. Right now it's the back anchor. So really what we're doing in a nutshell is we are learning how to bring the rib cage down in relation to the pubic bone. And so that's kind of the awareness that it's really hard to develop when you're standing in a three-dimensional space. When you get down on the floor, you have this biofeedback from the floor, and I'm able to feel what it feels like to bring my rib cage down, and that being in relation to my pubic bone staying forward, or even coming forward even more by pushing away. And so this is the type of thing that you can't learn by reading a manual or a book. You can only learn this through feeling, through going through the motions, and retraining your body can only happen through repetition over time. Those are the two ingredients. So this is the priority. If you don't already know, if you haven't been far enough through the program is a series of layers, and the foundation is the connection. And this floor angel motion is a layer on top. And so you can think of the layers as, you know, the lowest layers, the foundational layers, are the most important layers. And everything on top of that is less important. It's like a house. You want your house on a strong foundation, and everything on top of it is dependent on how strong that foundation is. And these, as you go through the program, we're going to add layers and layers and layers, and they become less important, less critical, but they become more useful, more applicable to life. So this floor angel is movement retraining. I'm learning how to move my arms, my upper body, while maintaining this connection, this foundational connection. And so back to the house analogy, it's like once we add these functional movements to the foundation, they are the things that you use in your house, like your microwave. It's extremely useful in your day-to-day life, but it's not critical to the house, the structure of the house. If the microwave is in a house on a bad foundation, then the structure is going to fall apart and the roof is going to leak, and it doesn't matter about all the cool things that you have that are useful in the house. So you got to have the foundation first, and anything you add to it as we go through the program, like these movements, are assuming that you are maintaining that foundational connection. You're able to maintain that rib cage down, and the beauty of this is that we are doing this without compensations, because if you're standing and I say bring your rib cage down, you can bring it down by going like that, right? My rib cage comes down, but what happens? I'm hunching. And so we're using the floor to maintain a good posture and bring the rib cage down in relation to the rest of our body without compensating and causing a problem somewhere else. So the floor angel is a great way to practice that. Early stages of movement retraining while maintaining the connection, and it's also just an incredible way if you do this for 5 minutes. Like I've been pretty much staying connected this entire time while talking, breathing, and you can even check that my pelvis has been unweighted most of this time. My lower back muscles are feeling very relaxed right now, and that's because of reciprocal inhibition and also just this decompressed anti-gravity position that it's in. They're not bearing weight right now, so they're able to relax. And when I get up from the ground, my abdominals are going to feel extremely activated because they've been activated this entire time. And so next week we will go over some more functional standing movements that we would want to do to follow this up with, to train our body to move with this activation, with this connection. And so that's another layer on top. But like I said, it's not as critical as getting the strong foundation first. So the layers only come as you have built the layer beneath it and feel confident with that. So that's the flow for today, and we'll get into the live student Q&A. All right, hello everybody. So that was recorded immediately prior to this. So I just switched screens here and I can see that my hair is looking pretty fun. So give me a sec. I'm going to get a little more professional here. And we're going to get into the live stream Q&A portion of the video. And hopefully my audio is working. Hopefully that went well. It's a little bit of a different way to go this week. But that's, I think, what people want to see. I think that more demonstrations, more exercises and practical takeaways is the direction we're trying to go, and so that was kind of a little bit of a first time experiment, and appreciate your feedback. I see that I want to give a shout out to Michael Fleur, who just gave us our first ever thank you chat. I'm not sure exactly what they call it, but really appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, you're the first ever, so we can put you on the boards for in the history books. And you say, just want to say thank you for the program and the video. So You're very welcome, Michael, and thank you for being here. Thank you for committing to your health, and the commitment is half of the solution, and the program is only half of the solution. So I appreciate you and everybody else that shows up for themselves every day to commit to their bodies, get your life back. So much appreciated. And hello, Kevin. Good to see you here as well. So let's get into the. I'm assuming everything's working properly. New technical stuff today, so can't be sure. But if I haven't seen anything in the chat that it's not working, so I'm gonna keep going. We will go to the slides. We've got a Student Hub Student of the Week. That is Jessica Nelson. So congratulations, Jessica. Thank you for sharing your experiences, making the effort to relate, and encouraging others in the program, all in the Student Hub. So thank you for doing that. And we're going to give you an extra month to your membership. You have to do nothing. We will add the month from the back end. So thank you, Jessica, and keep it up. Let's move on to question number 1 for the week. So this question comes from Deanna. She says, when I get done doing the perfect bridge, I wait a bit. When I sit up, I feel like all the blood rushes to my head and get a headache. Does this sound familiar at all? I'm not holding my breath, but maybe I'm trying too hard to contract my core. If you have any tips, I would appreciate it. Yeah, okay, so the most likely thing that this is, Deanna, is something called orthostatic hypotension. And that's exactly what is happening, is what you feel. What orthostatic hypotension is it's low blood pressure related to a positional change. And I would say that 99% of the time, the positional change happens from laying down to sitting up. And this is more common in the elderly, so it's actually very common if you've seen, maybe elderly family members when they get up from, they could even be going from a sitting position, but, if they're laying down on the couch and they go to get up, you might see them take it a little slow, and that is often because they're waiting for the blood to catch up and get into their head so they don't get dizzy, lightheaded, and possibly even faint. So that's my guess, Dana. I can't be sure, but it seems like, maybe you're in the bridge position for 5 minutes as the program suggests, and just, being on the floor for that long and then going to get up, it might take a minute for the blood to get back. Or actually, it's not quite get back to your head. When you sit up, the blood kind of empties out of your head because of gravity, and so the blood pressure has to catch up. Your body has to increase its blood pressure to get the blood back up to the head without the help of being horizontal. So it's fighting gravity. So that's the guess. I see some action in the chat. Sherry says, love the idea of demo flow for each live stream. All right. Yeah. So yeah, that could be something, Sherry, for each live stream. It was pretty fun for me. Obviously, it feels good for my body. So if that's something that people give me feedback on, like, let's do this every week, I'll do a different flow every week and see how that goes for a while. I feel personally like I'm getting a little tired of hearing myself talk, with the presentations and the PowerPoints and stuff. So maybe other people are as well. And so that's kind of the goal, is we're going to kind of make a pivot here and do something different. Chase says, almost done with week 2 of the program. I can connect all my anchors and hold a bridge for a couple minutes, but I feel like when I engage my core, I also tighten up and all my back muscles. Any tips? Yeah, definitely, Chase. So this is not uncommon. Most often the cause of, getting too much tension in the back muscles is from doing it at a too high of intensity. And so, I don't know if you saw last week's stream, but it was all about lower back muscle tension, and I covered a very broad area of topics, from the major contributing causes and short-term solutions and long-term solutions. But if I were to dive into the patterns, the cause, one of the three causes I talked about, which is patterns, we are most commonly in this predictable pattern of lower back hyperactivity, lower back muscle hyperactivity. Those lower back muscles are really involved in everything we do, and we kind of over rely on them, and they get tired and they get inflamed, and we feel pain, and they don't get enough oxygen and blood flow because they're so tense all the time. And so that's a pattern we're trying to break out of. And the best way I know to break out of that pattern is to do the very specific types of movements, but you have to do them at a really low intensity, because if you do them at a too high intensity, it just brings everything to the party, including the lower back muscles. Even if the lower back muscles aren't really needed to do that movement, it will just engage everything. And since we're typically in that pattern of lower backs being just hyperactive, being, compensating for other muscles that maybe aren't doing their job, the lower back muscles compensate, then this is the pattern we're trying to break out of. And so my long story short, Chase, turn down the intensity way lower. You've probably heard me say it before, but people need to hear this, because it's our tendency to want to get more benefit by trying harder and doing more and pushing harder. That's the way we relate, making progress and doing work hard, more benefit, right? But with the body and this type of thing that we're trying to learn, where we're trying to get in tune and develop a relationship with our deep, tiny spinal support muscles, actually it's the low intensity where we can really connect with them and get familiar with them. And we want to try and do that without bringing all the other muscles to the party. So turn it down, see how that goes for a while. It may feel like you're not doing enough, and it may also feel like you're not getting any benefit, but I promise that it's been a massive breakthrough for so many students when they finally go, okay, I surrender, I turned down the intensity, and I had a breakthrough. So, engage the core lighter. Okay, long answer to that. So let's move on through the chat. Elliot says, I've been working in the program and very good results. I am at the last module. However, I keep flaring myself about once a week. How? Mostly sitting is still an issue. That's welcome to the game of back pain in life, right? So we have to figure out why. You have to figure out why you're flaring yourself. Like, what is it that you're doing? I don't know anything about your daily life or the activities you're doing. It sounds like sitting is an issue, and it potentially is. If I were gonna just extract information from your chat message here, then maybe sitting is the reason why you're having flares. So find ways to sit less, sit differently. You've been around for a while, Elliot. I've seen your name for a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and say maybe you've already seen the stream or the video on sitting, but I think that's a really valuable video to watch, where I just talk about different strategies for sitting to be able to get through the week and the day without causing you to have a bunch of pain by the end of the day. So I'm going to relate it to sitting, but you got to continually fight the fight and reflect on what it is you're doing, and it potentially could be not only what you're doing, but how you're doing it. I think that's the solution in the vast majority of cases. Is it's not what you do, it's how you do it. That's the solution. And it also works in reverse. So if the problem is not necessarily what you're doing, it could be how you're doing that thing. Are you connected? Are you braced? Or is your spine supported while doing whatever it is that you're doing? So
That's the best I can give there. Josh Baker, good to see you here. Thank you very much. Tsipora, you missed the beginning. That's okay. You can always rewind these live streams, Tsipora, so no worries at all. So yeah, we're doing it a little different this week, and maybe we didn't get the notification out there, but you can definitely catch the flow at the beginning. Let me know what you think of it. And oh, interesting. So it clicked on once the Q&A started. Michael Fleur, where do we submit questions for the Q&A? So if you're in the program, Michael, then you post them in the student hub. Everybody that's in the program should have also be in the student hub. So you'll find that in your library, in the Kajabi app or on the Core Balance Training website. You'll see the student hub, and that's where all the students can interact and talk and share whatever. And you can also post questions. We take the up to 10 questions per week. The 10 5 to 10 that we think are the most helpful will apply to the most people, and I answer them on the live stream. So that's how that all happens. And again, thank you, Michael, for your thank you chat. That was awesome. Didn't expect that. I put it out there. I never asked for it, but I'm definitely grateful. So Marina already answered the question, and I'm trying to catch up with the chat. So let's see. I've had frequent SI joint pain, 70% of each day, though fortunately not while sleeping, for several months. Would you recommend an SI belt? I have two. So Michael, I have two videos out. So one super long and thorough live stream if you want to commit an hour to hearing me talk about the SI joint. And I think it's one of the best streams I've done. But for people that don't have that kind of time, we turned them into two short videos, like, 8 minutes long each. And one of them is specifically on the SI belt. So yes, I do recommend it, but a certain strategy to use the SI belt is best. And so you can watch that SI belt video. We just find it on the channel, Core Balance Training YouTube channel. And you can hear all about my SI belt strategy. And then there's the SI video, the other one, that I think is extremely valuable as well, on like movements and positions to avoid and things to do that will help. So check those out. Chase, thanks for the explanation. Oh yeah, so that was your question up above. Cool. Yeah, glad to hear. And Josh says, I know you say it's the most important, so do I just stick with unweighting my pelvis until stronger? Yeah, you can work on, so Josh, you can work on the back anchor connection and the progression and the bridge for months. You could do module 1 for 6 months, and you can still get benefits from it and still get stronger. So yeah, I would say stick with it for sure. And if it feels good, do more of it. And same thing with module 2. Module 2 is definitely more advanced to really get the intricacies of the benefits of the front anchors, but you can work on that for another 6 months. And so the benefit doesn't stop because week 1 is over and you move on to week 2. These are layers, and so everything you want to continue just to build on the first 2 modules, which are the foundation of the house that I talk about. All right, so Elliot, all right, and Michael, all right, cool. Yeah, so yeah, it sounds like, Michael, you know where the student hub is. Cool. All right, so let's move on back to the slides. We have a few more questions. One is from Amanda. She says, my chiropractor says I have a twisted pelvis and hypermobile SI joint. After watching your video on SI joint pain, oh, how appropriate, because I was just talking about that video, I am realizing that this is the exact pain I am experiencing, as well as clicking when I do bicycles. All right, so hopefully you either take a break from doing bicycles, Amanda, or apply the back anchor concept to the bicycles, and you could potentially get that clicking to stop. You definitely want that clicking to stop. The question is, do you have any different suggestions throughout the program for someone that has a hypermobile SI joint, or I'm okay to do everything as is? Should I wait until my pain goes away to continue with the program? Typically my answer to that second question is no. I don't really ever recommend people to wait until the pain subsides or until something happens to start the program. The only thing you should wait for to start the program is till you have an opportunity to commit to something like this. If your life is too crazy and you start it and you fall off, that's no good. But if you can stay committed, there's no other reason really to wait, unless you have, just gotten back surgery or something and the doctor says no. But for really like the module 1 stuff is extremely safe and extremely beneficial, even if you're in pain. And specifically for the SI joint, Amanda, I'm gonna bring up the butt buster. It's just been highly effective for SI joint pain. I've seen it in every realm of my profession, in the clinic, on myself, with my wife, in the program. It's just the best thing I know of to stabilize the SI joint. And so if you haven't gotten there, I believe it's in module 4. And so that'll also be appropriate for you, Elliot, I believe. Or who was it that in the chat that had the SI joint situation? Was it Michael? So Michael's, yeah, butt busters coming up for you. I think you said you're in module 2. But anyway, that's coming up, and that's going to be extremely beneficial. But still, we want to get the foundations first. So that's even, I still wouldn't want you to jump ahead to get that, start doing the butt buster, because that's how strongly I feel about building the foundation first. It is another layer on top. So back to your question, Amanda, I just think that's, that's the general rule, is don't wait. Do the things that you can that are working. The bridge should be beneficial for the SI joint. And then if it's at the point where it's hypermobile or unstable and there's like no stopping the clicking and the movement from happening when you do exercises and things, that's when the SI belt comes in handy. And so if you haven't seen the SI belt video, check that one out. I'm not trying to promote that one or anything, but it's the second time on this stream I'm talking about it. So there's another video on the SI belt, and you can really use that to your benefit, but you want to use it with a specific strategy so it doesn't end up becoming a crutch and causing you a whole nother problem. So yeah. All right. So and it sounds like Michael, I don't know if Amanda's here live, Michael, but you say Amanda, FWIW, what does that mean? I don't know. For what it's worth. Okay. I'm dealing with SI joint pain and had the same clicking on my right side when doing bicycle-like exercises, dead bug and toe touches. Yeah. All right, cool, Michael. So this is relevant to the program because the back anchor challenge is basically the dead bug with focus on the back anchor as the priority over arm and leg movements. Don't really care about those, right? So the foundation is back anchor connection. That's why we call it the back anchor challenge, and the arm and leg movements are just a challenge. So what you want to do, Michael, specifically for your SI joint is don't move your leg out farther than the point where you can't pull it back without the click happening. So maybe that's only a few inches out and pull it back. But if you can successfully do that without the click or the pop happening in your SI joint, that's a win. And basically the long-term strategy is, I might even talk about this in the video, is you want to push it out a little further and see if you can get right to that edge of just before the click or the pop happens and pull it back without it happening. And you want to push that edge over days and weeks further and further. Maybe it only gets pushed out 1 centimeter at a time or less. But that's a big win when trying to stabilize something that's unstable. That is a hard thing to do. It's one of the hardest things to do in the back pain world, is try to stabilize something that's unstable. And so you got to celebrate these minor victories and the little bits of progress. And that's one great way to gauge your progress, is to really to see how far you can move your leg out and bring it back in with the back anchor challenge without that click or the pop happening. Okay. All right, cool. So you already are making progress, Michael. So that's excellent, and congrats on that. So let's move on to the next one. This is from Diane. I'm in the middle of Module 9, and the program has helped immensely. However, as I near the end, I'm concerned that I haven't addressed what is causing my problem. Respect to you, Diane. That's what we want to do. We want to get to the cause of the problem. My back, hip, and leg pain seems to stem from my hips, especially the glute medius. It's always tight and sore. The bridge and all the glute strengthening helps, but ultimately it never releases. I think it pulls my SI joint, L4, and 5 out of balance. I know it's important to treat the cause, or it will just continue. So how do I release it? So the first thing I think, Diane, is, are you sure it's your glute med? Could it potentially be a muscle underneath the glute med that is commonly in kind of a spasm called the piriformis? So if that is a possibility, then I guess it doesn't really change the solution. You can get manual work done if you haven't already. So basically, you can go to a professional, like a physical therapist. I don't know how well chiropractors are at manual work for soft tissues, but probably some of them are pretty good at it. So you want to get manual work done on those tissues, either glute med and or piriformis. There's also glute min, all in that same area. They're layers, right? And so that is potentially going to get them to release. But then you got to ask the question, well, why are they tightening up? Is there something that they are trying to accomplish by tightening up? Because the body usually has reasons for why it's doing things. So is there something going on with your hip? Do you have a history with your hip? Or are they tightening because it's your SI joint? Because these are some of the few muscles in the body that actually cross the SI joint and have the ability to stabilize it. So, those are the questions I would ask, and depending on the answers to those questions. So, if it's your SI joint, then that's why those muscles are tightening up. Then maybe it's worth considering. Third time on the stream, we could try an SI belt and see, just as a test even, strap it on, see if it can stabilize your SI joint, and see if those muscles will finally go, I can let go and I can breathe. And then the pain can kind of go away because they can get they can get blood flow. They're not knotted up, and they're able to get blood flow and oxygen, and that's a lot of the time what causes muscular pain is just the lack of oxygen. So that would be if it's the SI joint. If it's the hip, then maybe we can look into labrum, potentially getting some manual work done on your hip joint could be beneficial. There could be a blockage. There could be, some adhesion in the joint that's not allowing it to move the way that it should. And so it does depend a lot on your history, and it might be beneficial to get someone's hands on there, Dan, because it sounds like you've been pretty committed. You're in Module 9, so that's great commitment. And there are many cases in which getting some, in-person, hands-on treatment in conjunction with this taking responsibility type, part where core balance training is pretty much you doing everything for yourself and owning your body. Sometimes you also need a little help in addition to that. But what I can say is the other person that's helping you not going to be able to solve everything on their own. So this taking responsibility part is necessary, and bringing someone in can just sometimes get you over the hump or whatever it is. So That's my best advice for you. Is get a little more assessment and look and think about your history. What is your history with those joints in that area of your body? So yeah, hips or SI joint, it sounds like, are relevant. And yeah, lots of reflection on what you're doing in your daily life too, Diane. How do you stand? Do you sit with your legs crossed the same way all the time? You got to start asking yourself these questions. Are you always standing shifted onto one leg? That's the type of thing that can lead to things like, scoliosis and stuff like that. So lots of questions. The solution is often in asking good questions. If you find a good question, then you seek out the answer, and that's a step in the right direction, at least. Back to the slides, we are going to go on to, I hope I'm saying this right, Mauricis. Maybe it's Nelson. We'll call him Nelson, him or her Nelson. So somehow I've activated the 12th rib. Okay. First question is how do you activate a rib? But let's keep reading. On my lower right back and hooked into my QL on the right side. Okay. The snag was pulling me down, so I went to my DO to release it. Okay. I think I may have been too aggressive when I pressed my back to the floor, back anchor. But my question is, what can I do to release this myself? All right, so that's a pretty good question. There's been one other student in the 6 years of core balance training's existence where I've seen something like this. So yeah, like over 2,000 students, and there was one other student that I've seen, who brought up that their rib kind of got out of place. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I think in that case, it was most likely because the person just had not been on the floor in so many years. And it was actually more of the process of getting up and down off the floor and that kind of way that he kind of tweaked his body. And I just felt like it was more the process of getting up and down on the floor, and maybe even just the firm surface of the floor pressing on the ribs, and the body just hadn't been accustomed to anything like that in a long time. So I don't know if that's the case for you, if you've been up and down on the floor much in your recent past, but that can make the ribs sore. And if I'm not sure what you mean by activated the 12th rib, but potentially I'm going to just say maybe it's got a sprain, like it's been irritated at the joint level. And I also don't know exactly what you mean by hooked into my QL. So maybe the rib is like hooked into it. I'm going to say maybe we can treat this kind of like a just an acute like trauma, an acute injury. So give it a couple days to calm down, let the inflammation kind of subside a little bit from whenever this happened, if it was like a single event where it happened, and just kind of go easy for a little bit and then gradually get back into it. And it will tell you, this is a pretty cool thing about the body, it will tell you what caused it when you try to get down and do the thing again that caused it. And if it was the back anchor that caused it, then doing the back anchor too soon again will cause it to flare up, and you don't want to cause it to flare up, so you want to go super easy and light. But that's a way to get an answer. And so to release the QL, yeah, you can go, there's manual ways to do it. You can get a foam roller or a trigger point ball and roll on it. Or you can get someone else to put their hands on it and release the QL. But if you sprained a rib, you got to treat it like a sprain. You got to treat it like an ankle sprain. And yeah, light use is okay, but you want to take it easy for a bit. And next time when you're ready to get back to something like the back anchor, just super low intensity, like turn it way, way, way down, and and gradually ramp up, very subtle, and feel your body and tune in, and your body will communicate to you, okay, this is too much. Okay, go right underneath that. And oftentimes what happens for people with the back anchor is, with the abdominal activation, it can feel pretty good. So that's the range that you want to be in. It's not 100% full steam, and it's not do nothing. You want to be somewhere in the middle, and you want to have that, find that window of intensity where it actually feels good for you. So that's the advice. I'm not going to say do nothing. I'm going to say light activity, and movement is good for the body. So don't stop moving, but go light for a little bit. All right, I think I got to take a brief look into the chat, just to catch up. And okay, so here we are. So after a month of the program and psoas release and working on the back anchor stability, the clicking, I already read that one. The quick clicking is much less frequent. So good on you, Michael. Marina posted the SI pain relief video. And the SI butt video. Thank you, Marina. And then Daniel says, I have had to have dry needling done to get those glute muscles to release. Okay, so that's Daniel. So Daniel, dry needling is something I haven't talked about in a while, but dry needling is highly effective for getting trigger points or knots in your muscles to just release instantly. It's pretty incredible. So I've used dry needling in many places. One of my internships in New Zealand with the All Blacks rugby team, the head physio for the team was very into dry needling. So I got tons of experience on myself and also with the athletes, and it can be extremely effective. So thank you for bringing that up, Daniel. Yeah, that's a good tip. You can use dry needling where it may take 10 massages to get a knot out of your muscle. A dry needle can do it in one session. But you still want to ask the question, why did it form in the first place? And you want to address that. And typically it's an overworked muscle. So you want to support that muscle with the other musculature around it. So let's move on to the next question. Cindy, I'm 55 and super active with degenerative scoliosis. I'm in week 2 and the program is really resonating. I have done power yoga about daily for 30 years. I thought that was healthy, but now I wonder if it's part of what is creating muscle imbalance. I think I'm headed toward rediscovering yoga postures as I retrain my body to use the internal muscles better. Yes? Any thoughts on power yoga and incorporating CBT? Absolutely, Cindy. So this is great. I really love reading this. I will say that yoga, I kind of not for 30 years, but I kind of went through this experience that you are trying to describe here, I believe, where, yoga is an incredible practice and it's extremely healthy. One of the healthiest, probably all around practices that you could do for the human body, but it's most healthy for healthy people. And it actually can cause issues in people that have muscle imbalances and joint imbalances and joints that are incongruent. And if say for example you have anterior pelvic tilt and you're trying to do some yoga poses that involve spinal extension, that could potentially cause too much strain on the spine. And this can happen not only in the spine but other areas of the body as well. So yoga is most healthy, most beneficial for healthy people. And one of the goals of the program is to get you back to doing yoga. And actually the last pose in the program is a yoga pose. And it's pretty much very similar to like a warrior pose. And we are engaging the anchors to stabilize the spine. So I'm really glad you found the program, Cindy. It sounds like you're really you're applying it in the way that I want, which is you are learning this new way of relating to your body and your core and then applying it to the practices in your daily life. So It doesn't really matter what it is. If someone likes horseback riding or someone likes, martial arts or yoga, you want to apply this core connection, this way of engaging your spinal support muscles to protect your spine while you're doing that thing. And it's just a really fun and it's a really deep journey to practice yoga with core balance training. It can be I will say it can be a little overwhelming at first because there's a lot going on. There's a lot to try and think about while you're doing in a class, trying to do the posture that's hard enough as it is, but also trying to engage your anchors. But eventually it really does get integrated and it becomes very natural. And that's part of the really enjoyable part, this new way of doing the same thing. So really great question. Those are my thoughts about it. Just keep you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing, and keep going, Cindy. So let's go into the next one. This is the second to last slide for the day. This is from Jack. I think the smaller muscles connecting to rib cage, pelvis, diaphragm, etc. are perhaps out of balance. Weak, and this was making it difficult, painful to sneeze. Strengthening those core muscles is relieving this issue along with helping my back. I want to see what Dr. Ryan's thoughts are on the mechanics of what is going on there. It's quite remarkable to have issues sneezing and a miscellaneous pain in my side go away. Yeah, that is quite remarkable. That'll be probably the first, in my experience, report of improved sneezing from core balance training. So congratulations to you, Jack, and I will share my thoughts on this. I don't have anything prepared as far as I know exactly what I'm going to talk about here, but I will say that there's a very, very direct relationship to the diaphragm and sneezing, and also the diaphragm and what we are doing with core connection and core balance training. So the diaphragm sits right over the top of many organs, like the liver and the spleen and your stomach. And so these organs, when they are out of balance, when they are in the wrong place, when they're getting pushed on too hard, my wife is pretty much she's like 9 months pregnant right now. So she's been feeling the feelings of the organs getting moved in out of place. And there are pains associated with that. And actually certain organs like the liver, I believe probably all organs do this, but the liver has a pain referral pattern where if there's a problem with the liver, you can often get pain in your right shoulder, specifically the right shoulder is where the liver refers pain to. And the kidneys refer pain into the lower back. And so that's like traditional Chinese medicine. If you have lower back pain, they're actually going to look at your kidneys function. So it's possible that, maybe there was just some, my thoughts are that there was possibly some dysfunction of your diaphragm. The predictable pattern is the diaphragm faces more forward, and it will push everything forward out your belly. So as your rib cage flares up, I'll try and do this. As my rib cage flares, let's go this way, that way, instead of being down, it comes up. The diaphragm, which is attached from the inside, will tilt forward, and it will start pushing those organs more in a forward direction rather than down, creating that what we love is the intra-abdominal pressure and the stability that comes with that. So it's just possible that, maybe the attachments of the organs were getting stressed or strained. And as you're starting to bring that rib cage back towards, to the lowest expiratory position, that's where we want it to be, then those organs might be getting just pushed on in a better direction. So this is a wild speculation, but this is just an idea of the types of things that are changing in your body as we change the biomechanics, and posture, essentially, is what it is. Let's take a look in the chat. We see Michael, if you're looking for additional questions, my ortho just prescribed a short course of prednisone. Any thoughts on when to use anti-inflammatories? Typically, my beliefs and my thoughts around steroids are to try and avoid them when possible. If you're going to get injections, you're going to want to make sure that, like steroid injections, make sure that you don't get more than 3. There is strong evidence to support that more than 3, or maybe it's, more than 3 steroid injections weakens the tissues. So like all the tissues, muscle, tendon, ligament, fascia, connective tissue, everything gets weaker, loses its strength, its tensile strength, all, so it's a short-term thing. It can be used. So here's the benefit of something like steroids. It can be used to reduce the inflammation in a short-term period of time that would then allow you to do the things, the long-term things, where maybe you couldn't do them before because it was too painful, or it was just, you weren't able to get the feeling because it was too maybe masked or overshadowed by pain, and you couldn't tune into your body the right way. And this allowed you to focus, or basically maybe just simply allowed you to do something that you weren't able to do before. So you could use the injections in that way to allow. But it's not going to be a solution. We know that. I don't think anybody thinks that. So that's my thoughts. So steroids would just be the most extreme version of like a anti-inflammatory. So you have non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, and there's not really a lot of evidence to support that they actually reduce inflammation. I don't know that they actually do that, where steroids do. Retirement rookies. I use a really tight sports bra during exercise to hold everything in. Could that tightness around the chest affect diaphragm and core effectiveness? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would say that it could, but I don't know that it's necessarily going to be a bad thing, because your bra is going to be higher up than your lower back. So if you're having lower back pain, the one thing I could potentially do, Miss Rookie, is stiffen your thoracic spine, where if your thoracic spine's not moving at all, it's too stiff, which is extremely common, then the lower back has to move more. It has to do more, and that causes the hypermobility and the, potentially wear and tear. And so you want to make sure you got that mobility in your upper body. And so a tight bra could restrict that. And so you want to be aware of that. And if you're in the program, we do some thoracic mobility stuff in the program. And so I would recommend that you implement that. Even if you are wearing the bra, you can still learn how to do it, even despite. I don't think that it would be 100% restrictive. So you may be able to have your cake and eat it too, and wear the bra and learn how to stay loose up top. All right, so let's go back to I think I finished with Jack around the diaphragm stuff, and we'll go back to the last question of the day, last slide of the day from Jolene. So I am significantly overweight, 90 pounds to go. And congratulations, sounds like you're already making some progress. If you say to go, that means you had more beforehand. So keep going, Jolene. And I am having a bit of trouble with the top front anchor due to my gut and diastasis recti from pregnancies decades ago. I feel like the stomach is preventing me from connecting the top anchor effectively. I'm not having any problems with the pubic bone anchor. Do you have any suggestions for the best way to overcome this? Is it okay to just focus on the intention of connecting my lower rib cage, even though my gut seems to be preventing me from a solid connection with the floor? Oh, this is a really great question, Jolene. So, I think the answer is yes, it is okay to do that and to modify this position in a way that allows you to still accomplish the goal, which is the goal is really to be able to move. I was just talking about this right before. Be able to move through your thoracic spine, to extend through your thoracic spine, while keeping your lower back more or less stabilized or supported. And we're using, with the front anchor's awareness, we're using the floor as our tactile support and our biofeedback. And so we're just pushing away from the lower front rib cage. But you can still do that motion without a connection to the floor, and that's what we do later in the program. When we get up off the floor and we do the anchor triad, we're pushing away from our upper front anchor. There's no floor there. So you can try and do that and just have the idea, like, here's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to stay open and be open up here without flaring the rib cage. That's the goal. So all of these weird abstract things in the program, like the back anchor and the front anchors, they have practical applications, and it's a lot to do with posture and being able to maintain an open posture without compensation. And the three anchors are checks and balances, so that you need all three so that you're not compensating. So as long as you understand what the goal is and the concept, then yeah, you can modify and keep working towards those 90 pounds, and you got your whole lifetime to be able to connect that front anchor. So I think you're doing the right thing. There are some ways that I've had students modify the front anchor in the past, and I don't know if this will work for you, but you can bring the floor to you. So maybe a rolled towel or a folded towel just right under the bottom of your rib cage. It will it can kind of press through. If you put it on the floor and lay over it, it can kind of press through to try and touch that rib cage, and you can get more feedback. You can kind of feel that towel and push away from that. So I would give that a try. And then, if you're feeling benefits from the back anchors or the back anchor and the lower front anchor, keep working on that stuff, because you can continue to build on that until you are able to get to the point where you can feel that front anchor as well. So yeah, full support in what you're doing, Jolene, and keep it up, modify and stay consistent. So yeah, thank you. That was a good question. All right, so it looks like I am caught up in the chat. It looks like we are finished with our, I believe I'm caught up with the chat. Yeah, I am caught up with the chat, and we are finished with our questions for the day. We did our flow, to start the stream. It seems like at least one person liked it. So if you appreciated anything today, please feel free to hit that like button, support the channel so we can help other people on YouTube find core balance training. And there's a lot of hurting people out there, so that's the goal, is to help more people find this solution. So we appreciate you sharing with your loved ones and your friends if you think this can help them. And yeah, I guess I do have a bit of an announcement. It's kind of late to make this announcement, but we are planning to do a stream where I tell my full story of my back pain, and that's going to be coming up soon. We found some old, not only I found my old journals where I wrote about my back pain and when I was deep into my problem, but we also found some MRIs and imaging of my spine that I will be sharing and showing. So that'll be hopefully exciting for you guys. And oh, would you look at that? All right, so yeah, that'll be coming up soon. I don't know if it'll be next week or the week after that. I do have a baby on the way, so I just can't be sure. And so coming to you soon. So I'm just going to see if there's still anybody here. Oh man, we still got 17 people here. Look at that. Wow. Okay. All right, guys. Well, nothing more coming through the chat, so I'm going to take off, and until next week, Go do something healthy for your body. Go pay back your spine and your tissues for everything that it does for you. I'm going to go for a walk. And if that means for you getting down on the floor and doing core balance training, then get down on the floor and connect to your core. All right, everyone. Take care and see you next week.